Hi friends. Right, let's talk about some apps which I use on my phone. And in the end, I'm going to be talking about 3 apps which I think is quite cool. So stick around for the end. Now, the first app which I'm going to be talking about is Libby. Libby is basically an app which allows you to connect to like the nearest library to you. So the first thing it'll ask you is if you have a library card to like the nearest library to you and to insert the library card. But if you don't, it will hyperlink you to the library which is like nearest to you, and you can like then sign up for library card, and then you can like type in the library card inside that app essentially, and then you can like start reading ebooks which is in your library in Libby, or you can connect it to your Kindle essentially, and it'll allow you to like borrow that ebook for like 7 to 14 days. So in that app is basically all this ebooks and stuff like that, and it basically works by like corresponding your libraries. So like how the library works is like you can borrow physical books from the library, but for this one you'll just be borrowing ebooks from that library, and you can like just read it inside that app essentially. But if you don't actually want to like borrow the ebook, you can like just read a sample, which is basically just like one chapter of that book, just to like get the gist of what's going on in that book. But what I found by the app is that I tried to search up books that I wanted to read, but a lot of them wasn't in that app. Like I couldn't even read a sample or anything like that. So maybe when you get that app, first like search up any book which you actually want to read and see if it's actually like in the nearest library or not by using that app. And then another app which I found is called Deepstash. Now I like this app because this app is very educational. Like everything in this app is all in bite-sized kind of thing, and it's all in text. So how you're going to learn in this app is just by reading text essentially. So it's not like by video format like this, but it's all in text, so it's less stimulating, which is quite nice. And like there's all kinds of information there. There's like book summaries, and like there's also like podcasts where they talk about the podcast which occur, and they also talk about TED Talks where they just review all the bullet points of that TED Talks, and it's all just in text, bite-sized kind of information. And it's good that they don't really put videos in Deepstash, because like videos are very stimulating, like what is going on right now. And like videos are stimulating because your brain can basically process videos 60,000 times faster than text. And another app just super cool is Notion, and I actually made a video talking about Notion. It's somewhere over there if you want to check it out. Now Notion is an app with definitely a high learning curve when you first get started. Even like now there's a lot of features which I still don't know about Notion, but like I don't actually need to know all those features because I already have a template which I made which really works for me, so I don't actually need to know about more stuff in Notion. And that's what I feel also like a lot of people are doing, because like there's a lot of information in Notion, and there's a lot of things which is in Notion which like makes people like paralyzed in a way to like start using Notion, because there's a lot of things which they have to understand, and like I don't understand a lot of things, but I just have a template which works for me. And like there's a lot of YouTube videos talking about Notion if you ever need help and stuff like that, so I'm not really going to be talking about Notion, but like Notion is pretty cool because like you can really put a lot of things which you want in Notion. My only advice for like people about to start Notion is that when you start Notion, there's going to be some templates which they give you, and it might seem very confusing. Like it was very confusing for me. So my advice to you is that maybe just delete all those templates and just start everything from scratch and just learn like the features in Notion. You don't have to learn all of them, just learn some of them essentially. And like another app which I'm going to be talking about is Unreal Chemist, and I actually made a video talking about this app. It's somewhere over there if you want to check it out. But this app is basically an app where you can learn chemistry, but it's for beginners. So maybe like for like high school students who are learning chemistry essentially. Basically in this app, you can pick a lot of elements and you can mix them together, and you'll see like the product of what's going on. So maybe you'll see like effervescence, so you'll see some fizzing if that reaction produces fizzing, and you might see some flames if that reaction is very reactive. You might see color changes if there are, and it shows you like what actually goes on when you mix this chemical with this chemical essentially, which is quite nice because like there's a lot of things which are actually going on in that app which makes it nice. So like when you can't actually go to a lab to do chemical reactions, you can just use that app and see like all those products and stuff like that. Now I'm going to talk about 3 apps which I recently just found out, and this is now how I'm actually going to consume a lot of information from like people I follow. Let's say I stumble on an article or like an email newsletter from like Tim Ferriss or like Austin Kleon or from the New York Times, and let's say I can't read that right now because I'm busy right now. So I now have an app called Pocket, which is basically a read it later apps. Now there are tons of read it later apps like Pocket. Then there's a thing called Instapapers, which I also just found out. And these are all like read it later apps. So like if you can't really read that article or like the newsletter now, you can just put it into that app essentially. But I'm mainly using Pocket right now. So let's say I want to save that email newsletter into Pocket. So what I do is I just forward that email to add@getpocket.com, and automatically it'll be inside like my profile of Pocket essentially. But let's say it's not an email newsletter, but instead it's like an article in my browser. So then I would have to get the extension for Pocket, and basically when I'm reading the article, I can just press on the extension and it'll automatically be saved in my Pocket. And I also realized something else. Like instead of having everything inside Pocket, but instead I want to put everything inside Notion, I now found there's another thing called Zapier. Now Zapier is basically an app which basically connects from one app to the next. So let's see if information from one app, you can just zap the information from that app and you can move it into a completely different app. And you can do that with a lot of apps. So Zapier is basically a thing where it's meant to move information from one place to the next. So let's say I want to move my stuff from Pocket to Notion. So what I do is I basically tell like Zapier that I want to move it into Notion, and I basically want to put it into that database and stuff like that. And I tell Zapier that I only want to take this information from Pocket and I'm just going to move it into that Notion database and stuff like that. And basically you just zap the information from Pocket to Notion. And there are some limitation of the free version of Zapier, because like the free version only has like 5 zaps, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Still, like if you can't really use Zapier, you can just like put the link of that article in Notion and everything is fine essentially. Or like you can just leave it in Pocket, which is fine. But like this is quite cool because like now I can basically like save all of the articles or like the newsletters which I can't read it now into Pocket. And if I want, I can also transfer it to Notion, which is quite nice. Alright, that's it for this video and thank you for watching. Goodbye.